What up, everyone? Today I'm going to address a topic that has been coming up in bits and pieces ever since the end of 2015, after the Canadian federal election, which brought the Liberals under Justin Trudeau to power. It's this idea that the West would be better off if they broke off from the rest of Canada and formed their own country or whatever. Now, what I want to address with this, number one, is the foolishness of thinking that just they, number one, could pull it off, and two, it would even be successful right off the bat. That there wouldn't be struggles. Because I find every time I read these proposals, there are never any mention of any of the struggles they would have to overcome. Which makes me wonder, does anybody in this movement even research any of the possibilities? Do they do any research on what they will have to do to actually make this viable? So we'll start off. Number one, I've heard so many reports on a Western separation that it automatically questions, okay, who is going to be involved? I've heard where some scenarios where it's just BC, British Columbia, and Alberta. I've heard some where it's Alberta and Saskatchewan. I've heard others where it's just Alberta, and others where Manitoba's included with Saskatchewan, Alberta, and BC. So right there, nobody could agree on who would be part of it. So maybe you get the story straight here. That's one of the reasons why I look at this and goes, this is incredibly disorganized, and maybe people should be getting their shit together before they bring forth an idea that can be torn apart very much so easily. Now, second, some people, at least in Alberta, I've heard, feel that they would have a greater control over the economy, over the destiny, and over their major industry, the oil sands, if they were an independent country. Now, I'm not going to dispute that being independent, being their own independent country, they would have greater control over the province, or over the land that is now the country of Alberta. I understand that. Alberta is a landlocked province. There is no access to ports. So with BC blocking the Northern Gateway pipeline to the point where it will probably not pass anytime soon, now Quebec is the major roadblock for the Energy East pipeline, which, if they have their way, doesn't look like it will be passed either. Alberta's having trouble getting pipelines when it's just negotiating with the rest of the country as a province in that country. They're having enough problems getting those pipelines that they need already to bring their product to Tidewater. So imagine how much more difficult it will be to get the necessary infrastructure to get products to market. If they now have to take those negotiations, it's no longer to be interprovincial, it's not going to be an international negotiation, which will bring even more challenges. It'll look more like the Keystone XL pipeline, even though that was just passed, or at least the US has changed their stance on it. There's still plenty of time for that project to go wrong, but that's a completely different story. Being independent does not guarantee that you'll get the infrastructure you need to support your industries properly. If the rest of the provinces, or at least BC, join Alberta in this venture, okay, now you have access to Tidewater, but you still have to negotiate between the two, and it's already proving with the Northern Gateway pipeline that we haven't heard about for how long, that there might not be so easy to negotiate there either. Now, if Saskatchewan and Manitoba come along, well, you could. Manitoba has a coast. Most people forget. So maybe a pipeline to that coast, but who knows if that's even feasible or even a good place to make a port. I don't know, personally. Maybe it could. But there's that challenge. Now there's more than just the pipeline debate going from an inter-provincial negotiation to now becoming international, which brings like I said, more hurdles to jump through. Now, let's look at the 4 provinces. Let's imagine all 4 of them band together for this. Now, I'm sure, to the dismay of Albertans, they might not want to hear this, but I'm not sure they understand that this doesn't mean you'll be able to constantly get a leader of the political acumen you want. Sure, Alberta, despite having an NDP premier currently, is a conservative province. If you look federally, the Conservatives dominated. The Conservatives also dominated Saskatchewan. Now, Saskatchewan was an NDP-dominated province, provincially, for a lot of its existence. Just so happens there's a current Conservative government there, and the provinces were doing relatively well under Brad Wall. Manitoba isn't necessarily known as a Conservative province either. BC also isn't known as the most conservative province either. They currently have a Liberal in place, and much like Manitoba, the Liberals won several ridings. In BC, it's not like it was in Alberta and Saskatchewan where the Liberals won very little, if they won at all. So this idea also that you may end up with the good conservative government that you always want in this new province, I'm sorry, is hogwash. There are some uncomfortable realities you're going to have to face. You're not going to have it as easy as you think. Just because you separate doesn't mean you're entitled to continue negotiations as a province with the rest of Canada. It's going to be the exact same thing Quebec has been told for decades. Now, personally, and this goes for any independence movement, if a province wants out so bad, we should entertain it. I don't know what the terms should be on letting a province out, but if they want it so badly and you take it to a vote and they do vote yes, you have an obligation to go through and negotiate terms and iron things out. So, if you are that unhappy, you have a right. However, take some facts into account and address these problems. Because if you don't, you're the ones that will be paying in the end. Just all in all, come up with a decent idea, iron out some facts, then you present it. I appreciate you checking out this video. Please consider subscribing or leaving a comment. And overall, have yourself a good day.